Paul, is there really a need to build a case? Is the BOJ preaching to the choir here about the need for a change?
Well, I think since Kazuo Ueda took over in April and announced this review, which is going to take up to a year and a half, economists have been trying to think, does this mean that there's going to be no change for a long time? Not all economists are convinced of that, but Taro Kimura, who's just joined Bloomberg Economics from the Bank of Japan, where he was an economist, he says, no, they're going to build a case very, very slowly. They're going to use this review to back up major change, but that major change won't happen until the second half of 2024. Now, what are they going to do in terms of major change? Well, they would scrap negative interest rates. They would go back to an overnight core rate set at 0. They would scrap the YCC, the yield cap. They would still keep buying bonds, but without targets, so that would have maximum flexibility to kind of control those bond yields, but without a specific target that speculators could attack. This would make the stimulus framework more sustainable and be able to keep it going for longer and less vulnerable to speculative attack. That's the view of Bloomberg Economics' Taro Kimura.
Yeah, quite a view there, it seems, Paul. It's interesting because we just got some numbers coming through when it comes to the jobs numbers. So at least the jobless rate is coming down. So this labor market is tightening a bit. Does that mean we're going to see some meaningful wages, which is what UEDAs have been waiting for, to really kind of shift policy?
Well, the wages part has been, a key argument used by the Bank of Japan to explain why it's not following the rest of the world in fighting inflation with interest rate rises over the last year. They're saying that the inflation that we see now in Japan, even though it's a decades high, is not sustainable because we don't have these wages supporting it. So if we see any data suggesting a tighter labor market, then that feeds into the idea that wages will be supported and will keep going up. However, I should just caution that although we're seeing a tighter labour market in the figures this morning, we're still back to the level where we were pre-pandemic, maybe 3-4 years ago. So we're not at maximum tightness yet, but this should help support wages and the case for sustainable inflation. And of course, some economists may not take the same view as Taro Kimura. They think, no, we've got to be on watch. BOJ could still pull out a surprise out of the bag, possibly as early as July.